Scott Harrah, Director of Digital Content at UMHS, and today we're kicking off our class of 2022 interviews with the amazing Dr. Jared Sharza. The UMHS marketing team has known Dr. Sharza since he was a student in St. Kitts, and he was one of the very first UMHS media ambassadors and helped us with social media in St. Kitts and Maine, all the way up to clinical rotations. And we're pleased to report that Dr. Sharza mastered in emergency medicine at McLaren Macomb in Michigan and starts this summer. Dr. Sharza also did a lot of EMS and frontline work during the COVID pandemic, and we're pleased to have him here today to talk about emergency medicine and why it has been so important for students from Caribbean medical schools to help in U.S. hospitals during COVID. Dr. Sharza, welcome and thanks for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I'm more than happy to be here and to talk, about my experiences from UMHS and all the way up through clinicals and hopefully into residency as well.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Sharza, let's start off by talking about your background and why you chose UMHS over other medical schools. Where are you originally from?
So I'm from Canandaigua, New York. It's a small town in upstate New York. It's close to Rochester for anybody who's familiar with the area. I went to undergrad at St. Lawrence University for 2 years, where I was trying to focus on economics and pre-law. And then I transferred over to Nazareth College in Rochester, New York, where I studied anthropology. And afterwards, I started getting involved with EMS, where I was curious about medicine, but I wasn't really sold. I never did the pre-med traditional track or anything. So I really wanted to just get a little experience in it. And I ended up falling in love with EMS. I worked about a year after graduating undergrad, and I found myself in a position where I wanted to go further with medicine, but I just didn't have the traditional background. So what I ended up doing was I started researching different schools for non-traditional students. And I started coming across, all of these Caribbean schools. And it was funny because at the time I was reading this book called The Rum Diary by Hunter S. Thompson. And it was about, it was a wacky book about journey, discovery, but also adventure for a young professional. So I ended up reading that book and decided that I really did want to go to the Caribbean. I wanted a life experience along with an education. And I was looking into these different schools, and I remember I was working an overnight shift with EMS, and I went to the UMHS Facebook page, and I kept seeing, all these different names, but there was one student who's one of my good friends who actually was a student there at the time. So I sent him, it must have been like 20 messages or something overnight. And the next morning, he actually replied to all of them talking about the school. So that really sold me right then and there to get more information, to submit my application. And I absolutely do not regret it.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think you've already, I didn't realize you are a non-traditional student. And well, what did you say your background was that your undergraduate was in again?
So I first studied pre-law and economics, and then I studied anthropology. Yeah, so I did it. Really have an interest early on for exploring and adventuring and experiencing different cultures. So I really did want to go and explore the Caribbean and have a life experience from that manner. So from undergrad, when I studied anthropology, I really knew from early on I had an interest in adventure and discovery and a curiosity about different cultures around the world. So going to the Caribbean just was a perfect opportunity for me.
Okay, and were there any professors or staff members, both in St. Kitts and Maine, that were especially helpful or inspiring to you?
So there were, everybody, UMHS is a very community-driven campus, whether it's St. Kitts or whether it's in Maine. Dr. Afalabi has always been one of my, supporters. And I always got, motivation from him. He always just spread great messages and everything. May he rest in peace. Dr. Doherty was also a big proponent for, continuing to move forward, continuing to challenge myself. But really, everybody just on St. Kitts alone was awesome. And then definitely Dr. Thibodeau up in Maine really set us up for success and really pushed us.
Excellent. And is there anything specific about your medical education at UMHS, whether it was basic sciences or clinical rotations, that helped you match in emergency medicine?
So in terms of emergency medicine, it's one of those areas where you have to, there's a saying, jack of all, master of none. And I guess it was just my curiosity and my fostering my education and interest, from every single class that I had, whether it be basic sciences or especially during my clinical rotations. I really did find myself enjoying just about everything, which made the decision pretty difficult.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your story with us, Dr. Sharza. And again, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.